Tennessee Life is sponsored by
Mid-South Sewing is an authorized brother dealer and repairs all brands of machines. Mid-South Sewing, known for their many fabrics, classes, and individual instructions. Classes on sewing and embroidery machines, software, sergers, and quilting. Mid-South Sewing, Knoxville and Murfreesboro.
Tennessee Life is also brought to you by Next to New, an upscale consignment shop serving Knoxville. nexttonewknox.com. And by The Flower Pot, for over 100 years, offering flowers and same-day delivery with 2 convenient Knoxville locations. knoxvilleflowerpot.com. And by viewers like you. Thank you. Coming up on this edition of Tennessee Life, summer fun, flavors, and fireflies. We learn more about the special bug that brings thousands of people to the Smoky Mountains each year.
Last year I got close to 1,000 requests, unsolicited, by phone calls, emails, and a few knocks on the door, wanting to know when to go see the light show or what flasher do they have in their backyard. And people just find me.
From fireflies to fireworks, we meet the man who turned a childhood love for pyrotechnics into a business that creates some of the world's biggest displays.
And then you push that button, the sky lights up, people are cheering, and you are bringing so much joy to so many people. You can look in the mirror and say, I just remembered why I do that. It keeps you from having to grow up.
There is no better way to beat the Tennessee heat than a fresh slice of watermelon.
The way you can pick a good watermelon is you look at the kind of watermelon you got. If you got a long gated watermelon that got stripes on it, the stripes will be wide apart. The wider the seam is, the riper it is. If they jam right up against one another, that watermelon won't be near as ripe.
Those stories next on Tennessee Life.
I'm Vicki Lawson. Thanks for joining us for this summertime fun edition of Tennessee Life. We start in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, where for just a few days each summer, you can catch a glimpse of lightning bugs flashing in sync. Lynn Faust has watched these insects most of her life. She is known worldwide as a firefly expert.
My interest in lightning bugs started gradually. I've had the interest since I was a little girl. Every child loves lightning bugs, catching them, putting them in a jar, letting them go. I'm Lynn Faust, and some people call me the lightning bug lady. We had a cabin in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, but that cabin had the synchronous fireflies all around it. And I watched it from childhood on. My mother-in-law, Emily Faust, coined the term the light show back in the 60s. And we were all busy hiking and minding babies and doing everything else, but on June night after dinner, she would suddenly kind of get our attention and go, okay, in 10 minutes the light show will begin and everyone needs to be on the porch. And when Emily said it, we did it. She was a fabulous lady. And we'd wrap up in our blankets and get in the rocking chairs and face the hillside, and the light show would begin. And Emily had already figured it out. It started at about 9:30 every night, the first few weeks of June. And we would sit there and watch the synchrony, and it was so beautiful. At the time, like most people, I felt like all lightning bugs were the same. You know, like there was one and they were everywhere, but we knew early on that these were flashing differently. So it first dawned on me then, it's like, we have something special here. It's always been a thing of magic and beauty, but it's something other people haven't seen. And so that began my long journey into where I am now, totally obsessive 26 years later. I started by approaching the park and asking if they realized we had a synchronous firefly. They said no, and they weren't real interested in coming up to see it. It took them several years. But then I went to UT and asked them, and they didn't understand. And so no one seemed aware of it. I've always liked science and nature, and I subscribed at the time to a magazine called Science News, sort of a digest. The cover came of the magazine in '91 91 or 92, and the cover was a synchronous firefly tree in Asia. And so I picked it up, and I thought, oh, I better read this article. They might mention the Elkmont fireflies. And I read the article, and they didn't mention anything about the North America except to say that in the Western Hemisphere there were no synchronous fireflies. That kind of jolted me. I thought, well, we've been watching them for years. The name of the synchronous firefly, the scientific name is Photinus carolinus, and like the state of Carolina, it was first described from that state, and it's in the genus Photinus. Each species of lightning bug either glows or flashes, and what we all are seeing on our summer evenings in East Tennessee, 99% of the time are the males. Only the boys are we watching. They're the ones flying around giving a species-specific flash or glow. And some species only glow, which means they kind of glow and never go out, like our blue ghosts do that. And many of the other species actually flash, but each one has a special pattern that only his female will recognize. And so they speak through lights. That's their love song, back and forth to each other. The females are usually down in the leaves, you know, they'd be kind of down in here, and they answer very quickly with usually a very small little flash, where the males have these elaborate, particularly the Carolinus, the synchronous ones have a very elaborate 6 flashes quickly and then 6 seconds of dark. And they repeat that pattern over and over. It's called a discontinuous synchrony. They're actually dark all together for 6 seconds, and then they flash for 3 seconds rapidly, and they repeat that all night long. The increase in crowds over the decades has been astounding to everyone, the park, myself, everyone. But by 2004, it was a circus. And there were whole buses of people, whole clubs, groups, churches were coming up, dumping the people out, and there was no rhyme or reason. It was word of mouth. The park never advertised it. We sure never advertised it. It made our research very difficult. Last year I got close to 1,000 requests, unsolicited, by phone calls, emails, and a few knocks on the door, wanting to know when to go see the light show or what flasher do they have in their backyard. And people just find me, and I'll get emails from people that I will never meet going, 11 of us from Louisiana are renting an RV and we're coming to see the light show. When should we come? And this will be January. It's like, I don't know, you know, come sometime in May or June. In order to have a great viewing night, a main thing is you don't want it pouring rain, because if you think of how big a raindrop is and you think of how small a lightning bug is, they cannot fly in rain. Now a misty night, that doesn't really bother them, but rain does. And there is a limit of if they get too wet, they have trouble flying. You also have to go the right night. And again, there's only 3 to 5 super peak nights per year. Their lives are so short. The average lightning bug, again, there's always exceptions, but they live 2 to 4 weeks, and that's it as an adult. They come and they go, and most don't eat. They only show up to find a mate, lay eggs, and assure the next generation. That's the entire function of an adult lightning bug. We had only watched it as a thing of beauty, and that's really different than when you're trying to explain to a scientist what it is you've been watching for 20 years. My 26 years of research and field notes has taken over the house, but we have lightning bugs in the freezer, lightning bugs on the counter. I have 26 years of spiral notes that I do ultimately type up, over 3,000, 4,000 pages of those, over 70,000 photographs of fireflies of all the different species that I've taken, and then you have to edit and do all those things. Lots and lots of hard drives backed up. I have finally written a book on lightning bugs for everyone. It's written for the layman, for the interested regular person. It is peer-reviewed. It took me 6 years to write, reflecting 25 years, 6 years of field research. The book is called Fireflies, Glowworms, and Lightning Bugs. These little fireflies have taken me around the world, and I never set out on this journey. It just sort of happened. We do have firefly symposiums. I'm not the only oddball in the world. We're in every country. It seems like there are a few of us, and we always find each other. I've gotten to travel really all over the world and present. Just came back from Taiwan, and it was fabulous, 3 weeks over there. And been to Thailand, Borneo, Cambodia, Malaysia, Monterey, California, which to me was a foreign country. That was one of my first symposiums. I was terrified back then. I consider myself to be, I have no idea. And everyone wants to put a name on me when I'm in the scientific world, which I'm in quite a bit. They don't know what to do with me. And so I do feel very lucky I have managed to straddle the scientific world and the world of popular, just love of fireflies, the wonder and the awe of lightning bugs. Lightning bugs make good little ambassadors. People, if all they want to do is sit in their lawn chair in their backyard, if they've got a dark backyard with a nice wood lot, hopefully some water, a little grass that's not treated too heavily, they don't have to go anywhere. Just sit in their chair and enjoy what's in their backyard or their neighbor's backyard. So you don't have to drive to the Smokies to enjoy lightning bugs and the magic of the twinkling summer evenings, although the Smokies show is something I wish everybody could see at least once in their life. But they're all around us. You just have to turn the lights out.
Later on Tennessee Life, some tips for picking out that perfect watermelon. But first, learn more about the La Follette Company behind some of the biggest fireworks shows in the nation.
Summer celebrations wouldn't be complete without fireworks. The company behind some of the biggest shows in the nation is headquartered in La Follette, Tennessee. We spoke with Pyro Show's founder, Lanston Hill, about how he started his fireworks business. You had an interesting story on how you first got started in fireworks. Tell me a little bit about how that first seed got planted.
My dad and our next door neighbors, a dentist and a man who worked at the post office, bought mail order fireworks from Cincinnati. And they would bring them in for New Year's Eve, and we would shoot fireworks. And then, of course, my cousin and I would go out the next morning, try to collect anything that hadn't shot and find a way to reshoot it. So that probably kindled the spark.
Tell me about your first fireworks gig.
The first fireworks show that I ever did that would be called a public display was for the Imperial Reading Shirt Factory Company picnic. And we shot 12 fireworks. I got paid $36, of which $18 was profit. You know, it was this euphoric moment because at the time that I was mowing yards, you got paid about $3 per yard. And so I thought, you know, in 10 minutes, I've earned the same amount of money it would take to mow 6 yards. There's something to this.
You started your company in La Follette in 1969. Was it important that you kept your company there?
It's been absolutely essential. La Follette, I think, is a good example of so many of the right things in our country. The community has endorsed us, they've embraced us, they help us when we need help and lift us up when we're down. I don't think it would have worked anywhere else, certainly not for me.
How many shows do you do a year?
We do about 1,200 shows a year, of which 400 or so of them are the week of the 4th of July. We've been to a lot of places, but we've been fortunate to shoot fireworks for the King of Sweden in a Stockholm festival years ago. We won the North American fireworks competition in Virginia Beach. We just shot recently in Taiwan. We did a show in Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates, but here in the States, we've shot the show in Washington, D.C. 13 times since 1995, and that's always been an honor. Probably in East Tennessee, the show that people see that they most closely identify with pyro shows is Boomsday. We shot for 28 continuous years, which was a lot of fun. We also do the 4th of July show in Nashville. We started there in, I think, 1986. And it has grown to be one of the most recognizable shows in the United States and is routinely selected as one of the top 10 most interesting shows in the United States on the 4th of July. So when they issue this top 10 list and you see your name in Washington, D.C. and Nashville, for a company out of La Follette to have 2 of the top 10 shows in the country, we feel blessed.
What has been the most unique feature that you can think of in your career?
Well, I think I go back to Boomsday, and I think the most unique fireworks effect that we have produced over the last many decades is the waterfall. It's been the signature of Boomsday for every year, I think, since we've had it. So I think that's the most unique.
Fireworks are fun and entertaining, and you've had a long-running business. But within that time frame, you've also had some tragedy. I think it comes back to you being ingrained in La Follette and what it has meant. You said they've been there in both good times and bad. Can you share a little bit of that experience with us?
Yeah, 1997, we had a tragic accident. 3 people that were working in our yard were involved in some kind of mistake. Don't really know what happened. All 3 of them lost their lives. A 4th person that was coming back from Nashville that had done a show that night before came into the yard, and from all accounts we think that he was trying to get to the workers to rescue them in some way. And then when the explosion took place, you know, he lost his life as well. 20 years since, it is still hard for me to talk about because they were wonderful people. Not only has that been the low point in my career, it's certainly been the low point in my life.
What are some of the things that go into putting a show together? Something that might surprise our viewers.
Well, I think one of the more complicated fireworks productions is the show that we do in Nashville for the 4th of July, where we shoot the fireworks to a live symphony performance. So I think that probably those productions take the most creative work and the most timing work because our cues are written on the scores. Someone reads the score as the conductor is conducting the symphony and calls out the firing cues to us. And we'll have as many as 6 people basically shooting 6 separate shows simultaneously so that if anything goes wrong with anything, there's no dark sky. I've told my people for years and years that an audience will forgive you for shooting green fireworks in the red song or purple fireworks in the yellow song. They will not forgive black sky. And that's what we got to do is keep it busy.
When it's showtime, what is your job?
Well, it depends on the show. Like I was saying earlier, we do about 1,200 shows a year, and as much as I would like to clone myself, I can't be at all shows. But the larger shows, the more complicated shows, I usually want to be there, and I think my employees would say I do it more for myself than for them. I'm in the bunker, and I get the privilege of pushing the first red button. You push that button, the sky lights up, people are cheering, and you are bringing so much joy to so many people. You know, you can look in the mirror and say, I just remembered why I do that. It keeps you from having to grow up. I think pushing that button at 9 o'clock is where I still have the most fun.
Barbecues and picnics wouldn't be complete without fresh watermelon, and Koning Family Farm helps fill that need by growing several acres of them. We went to Maryville to check in on this season's crop.
Our phone been ringing for the last 2 months. The watermelon ripe because they seen them at Walmart or these big chain stores. You know, they think our watermelon is ripe. You know, let's go down and visit the Koning farm. You know, but people don't realize, you know, that it takes so long to do it. I'm Albert Koning. I run Koning Family Farm. I've been doing this about over 50 years, and we do one of the better jobs. We don't do the biggest job, but we do the best job. We're located about 7 miles southeast of Maryville, Tennessee. Easy place to get to and a wonderful place to stay. I've always grew up on the farm. When I got out of high school, I started farming full time. That was 1959, I got out of school. and I've been doing it ever since. The only job I ever had, the only job I really cared to have. I started out growing soybeans, corn, like everybody else. Didn't have a good relation there, and so much work for no money. So I decided that there got to be a better way. So we took on these fruit and vegetables. It took several years to get your foot in the door, but when we once did, with the quality and stuff that we produced, wasn't no problem to get people to come back. Then about 23 years ago, we built us a market on that property. We grow most of the stuff that we sell. We got great neighbors. We try to be a great neighbor, and family is very important to us. This is one location of watermelons. Here, they're about 6.5 acres or so of this particular patch. And we got other patches in other locations over the Blount County area. So we ain't located in no one particular place. In case we do have a bad storm or hail or something, that maybe be lucky enough to not knock all of them out. They weigh on an average about 15 pounds now, and they should be 25, 30 pounders by the time we get ready to sell them. And overall, they look real good today, so we're looking forward to get our customers some in there pretty soon. When you come into a field like this and looking at the crop that you got, you're looking at the size of them, you're looking at the vines, see how the vines are looking. If the vines are green, or if they're pale, if the end of the runners is standing up, means that they are generating and growing and got about everything they need to continue to grow. That was a little factor you need to look for, and then you need to definitely look for insects. If we got a disease, a fungus type of disease or bacteria, what it is, be sure to get down here and put some products on that we need to do. We cannot grow. It's getting harder and harder to grow a watermelon without really taking care of it great. You can't grow weeds and watermelons in the same field, so you're going to have to decide which one you're going to grow. They don't go together very well. People say, well, you do everything to your watermelon. You feed them stuff to make them sweet. We don't do anything that God don't give us. We just take care of it. It don't grow good in cold weather. It like warm weather. It don't take too much water at all to grow a watermelon until it get the size of these here today. And then they gotta have quite a bit of water from this period on. The biggest thing that people mess up on trying to grow watermelon, trying to place them too close together, jam them up. They try to put them in their garden maybe, or a smaller area, and put 10 or 12 seed out there, where they should maybe have 2. That's the biggest thing. They got to have space, because the plant needs about a 10-foot space in both ways. Taste-wise and quality-wise, if you grow a good watermelon in East Tennessee, it will compare to any watermelon in the country, because the type of soil that we have got will hold the fertilizer or what you put on it. It will hold that product until the plant get able to use it. And under favorable conditions like we have got right now, these watermelons will put on approximately 2 pounds a day from now until the time they get ready to pick them. It's kind of like feeding pigs. The way you can pick a good watermelon is you look at the kind of watermelon you got. If you got a long gated watermelon that got stripes on it, the stripes will be wide apart. Wider the seam is, riper it is. If they jam right up against one another, that watermelon won't be near as ripe. So you look at that. You look at the texture of the melon. If you're real shiny, look like If been waxed, it more than likely is still green. Another little thing that people won't pick up on, if you see a watermelon that have got a scar place on it, like it's been dug around, or if it got a place on it, the bugs that eat on it, that will be your best watermelon. The bugs will not eat on a bad watermelon. You know, and you look at a pile of watermelon or anything, all the time the prettiest one ain't the best one. The one that maybe be a little bit rougher or something will be the one that will actually taste the best. You got to get educated in the other way, you know, also that it can look bad and it still be great.
We hope you can get outside and enjoy everything this Tennessee summer has to offer. I'm Vicki Lawson. See you next time on Tennessee Life.
Tennessee Life is sponsored by
Mid-South Sewing is an authorized brother dealer and repairs all brands of machines. Mid-South Sewing, known for their many fabrics, classes, and individual instructions. Classes on sewing and embroidery machines, software, sergers, and quilting. Mid-South Sewing, Knoxville and Murfreesboro.
Tennessee Life is also brought to you by Next to New, an upscale consignment shop serving Knoxville. nexttonewknox.com. And by The Flower Pot, for over 100 years, offering flowers and same-day delivery with 2 convenient Knoxville locations, knoxvilleflowerpot.com. And by viewers like you. Thank you